The 2016 NFL season will be its 97th. It starts September 8th with the defending Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos hosting the Carolina Panthers. The season will end in Houston on February 5th of 2017. Not counting the preseason, that's a total of just 17 weeks. Well, there's also free agency, the scouting combine, and the draft, as well as training camp, and various other highlights and breaking news segments to keep us busy. But it seems that there's always something to read or watch to keep us entertained between Super Bowl week and the first week of preseason. So how is it that a league that lasts only 17 weeks can dominate the news wires and keep rabid fans glued to their phones or tablets year-round? When you think of it, the NFL now has cornered the market not only on the games that we the fans flock to in droves on Sunday to watch, but it also has cornered our opinion of players and teams alike as never before. The NFL has become adept at entertaining us both on the field and now off. Sometimes in reality TV-like mode, and sometimes through carefully crafted productions and dramas that the league wants you to see. In a way, the NFL has gone from a made-for-TV event to a content creation machine. And how have they been able to do this? Well, by spacing things out and always keeping us going back for just a little more. Since the premiere of Hard Knocks in 2001, the NFL has created great shows like Finding Giants, Undrafted, America's Game, A Football Life, and Path to the Draft, among others. And while all of these shows allow us an in-depth look at players or prospective players for our own beloved teams, none of them really create the controversy of shows like the Top 10 list or the Top 100 Players of 2016. All of the other shows that we mentioned allow us to be fans of our team or of particular players. We get to watch as they triumph and hear them or others talk about what it was like to win the big game, or in the case of Hey Rookie, to overcome the greatest obstacles in order to make a team. But the Top 100 is different. It takes us from spectator to heated debater across all social media platforms and leaves many fans scratching their heads. But is it just that, entertainment? Or is there more than fiction in these supposedly player-by-player shows? No matter what team you follow, chances are that when your favorite player was left out, you've asked yourself, is the top 10 really the top 10? Is it even an honor anymore to be voted onto these lists? And how much weight can we really put into entertainment shows in terms of if we can have bragging rights or we could predict the success of our players or teams this coming up year? That's our subject for tonight. This is the Will to Win.
That would burn brightest here is the will to win.
Is the will to win.
Is the will to win.
Your commitment to excellence and your will to win will endure forever. You were magnificent.
Let's go, boys. Let's go to do our thing now.
The autumn wind is a pirate.
Clark feeling pressure in front of him, has his man, it's Cooper. Cooper inside the 10, into the end zone for the Raiders touchdown.
We're going to challenge you from the neck up this afternoon.
Eric Carr got a lot for the end zone for Roberts. He's got it. Touchdown! Raiders!
Within the first 5 to 10 plays of the game, the other team's quarterback must go down. And he must go down hard.
Sacked from behind by Khalil Mack.
Hello, I'm Raider Pirate. Welcome to the Will to Win broadcast, coming to you live from our Los Angeles studio. As always, we'll be breaking down our show into 3 segments. A Q&A, where the Raider Nation submits their questions to the Oakland Night. A State of the Raiders, where we discuss relevant topics that affect the team, the fan base, or football in general. And a draft bio where we look at rookies that we agree will have an impact in some fashion this year. I'm joined by the usual suspects, and they're excited tonight to take your questions and answer them. Once again, this is only our opinion, but we are uniquely qualified to give you, the Raider Nation, just that, our opinion. Let's meet them, shall we? The Oakland Knight is a co-founder, a senior analyst, and broadcaster for the Will to Win. Raider Lion is our senior international analyst from the United Kingdoms and our resident draft expert. Welcome to both of you. Let's begin with our first segment, shall we, gentlemen? The Raider Nation has been kind enough to send us questions via email. If you would like to submit a question, you can reach us via email at thew2w@gmail.com. Our first question comes from Raider J. He says, "What's up, Knight and Pirate? This is Raider J from Sacktown. I want to know what you guys think about the Patriots in the last 16 years and the Lakers up until 2013 never going in rebuild mode like everyone else has to and go to so many Super Bowls and final appearances. Do you think that they're the number one moneymaker in both sports and that the league helps them out to keep business revenue and controversy stirring up all the time? I think it's complete BS. Let me know your thoughts."
Yes, over the past 16 years, Bill Belichick has built himself a dynasty. You know, I've always said that defense wins championships, but quarterbacks build dynasties. That's the one thing that Bill Belichick has been able to do in the past 16 years is he found himself a quarterback. If you look at some of the dynasties in the past, like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, in the 70s, you had the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had Terry Bradshaw. The San Francisco 49ers in the 80s, they had Joe Montana. And if you look into the 90s, the Dallas Cowboys had Troy Aikman. The one thing that those three teams have in common with the New England Patriots is their quarterbacks were the face of their franchises and the face of the league. Yes, there was other key opponents that they had, like Lynn Swann and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and all those great players that they had, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott. There was other pieces, but the quarterbacks are the ones that always stood out. And I'm sure if we go back into history, you will see that the league favored teams like San Francisco, the Dallas Cowboys, and we all know that they favored the Steelers in the 70s. So yeah, I mean, comes with it. You know, you build a dynasty, you're able to put something together that's great. These guys have won 4 championships and they're consistently competing in the playoffs all the time. You know, they're always in the AFC championship game or in the playoffs, always. Even when they lost Tom Brady, they were able to get themselves into the playoffs and put up a decent record. Players in free agency want to play for Bill Belichick because they have an opportunity to win a ring every year.
Our next one is from Ruben Zapata. Name's Raider RJ from Salinas, California. How do you guys feel that our toughest matchups are at home and that our easy games will be on the road? Do you think the NFL snubbed us or helped us out? Knight?
Okay, yeah, the schedule. I believe that the schedule is very interesting this year. I think it's favorable compared to years past when our team wasn't as talented as it is now. So maybe that's what kind of steers me to believe that our schedule is not so bad this year. There's going to be different opinions from different people because everybody looks at it differently. But from my point of view, I want to get this right off the top, okay? Our divisional games, you can go ahead and mark them down as tough all the way around. Our divisional games, whether it's at home or on the road, they're always tough. I don't take our division lightly. I do believe that, you know, we're better than some of them at times, right? But no matter what, division games are always tough. That's why they're rivals, and that's why they're in our division. So, you know, there'll be an occasional blowout here and there, but for the most part, all divisional games are challenging. And so I'm just going to leave them out of the conversation. So, I mean, regardless of where we play them out on the schedule, we have to handle our division regardless. So, you know, it is what it is. Outside of that this year, you know, it's very interesting. All of our outside of our division opponents, right, our away games are all within the first 9 weeks. We got our bye in week 10, and we have to play teams on the road like the New Orleans Saints. We got to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Baltimore Ravens. And those teams, none of them, I think the only two teams that really kind of make me scratch my head and be like, wow, I don't know exactly what we're going to get would be once again the Baltimore Ravens. They've rebuilt a little bit. I think they'll be better than last year, but we held our own and we're coming in, just as consistent as we were the year before. So I think that's going to be a great game. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars, man, they really impressed me the last few off seasons, and they're going to have Dante Fowler healthy now. They got Jalen Rhodes. They got some Jalen Ramsey, excuse me. They got some players, okay? So we have to watch out for that game. And the other tough stretch, and the only part that really scares me about the road games, is we got Jacksonville and Tampa Bay back-to-back on the road in Florida. And that's right before we play the Broncos in Week 9 before heading into our bye. So that one right there kind of gets me shaky a little bit. It makes me wonder, okay, how's Jack going to handle that? I mean, there's a lot of people that look at it as, well, we're not a good East Coast team. And we haven't been in the last 13 years. But my thing is we haven't been a good team in the last 13 years. So, I mean, it's not so much that, it's the East Coast games that we have a problem with. We just haven't been a good football team. If we believe in our team the way that we do, the optimism that's surrounding us, I mean, we believe that we're a good football team. And a really good football team plays hard and finds ways to win no matter what. If their back's against the wall, if they have to go on the road, I mean, look at what teams like the Giants have done, in the playoffs, being a wild card team and running it through and taking out the Patriots, who were undefeated that year. So, a team gets hot when they get hot. They play when they have to play. Good teams find a way no matter what. So as much as, that could be a problem, I don't believe it's a snub. I believe that, outside of that, our road games are pretty favorable, considering. So, I mean, the teams that we play anyway, they're not as elite as the teams we play at home, which is what I like about the home games. Now, right off the top, man, Carolina, that's going to be our toughest home game, in my opinion. Even when you bring our division into it, I believe Carolina is going to be the toughest home game. But I also look at, the Buffalo Bills as one we got to look out for. Our Rex Ryan defense is something you don't take lightly. Rex has owned us in the past. I mean, he's just a great defensive coordinator. That's one thing we could say about his football teams is they're always on it, and we have to be prepared, especially offensively, to take on their defenses.
Our next question comes from Ugarte. Her question is, Super Bowl 51 dream matchup, Raiders versus which team? Night?
Right. My dream Super Bowl 51 matchup. Wow. It's kind of a fun question. Right off the top of my head, I'd have to say the San Francisco 49ers, or should we call them the Santa Clara 49ers, right? But putting some thought into it, that would be the most stressful Super Bowl scenario imaginable. As fun as it would be to take on the Niners in a Battle of the Bay Super Bowl, the ultimate bragging rights. I mean, regardless, if we come out of Super Bowl 51 beating the Niners, we'd only have 4 of their 5 rings. But man, to have that one victory in the Super Bowl against our arch rivals across the Bay would be something of epic proportions. However, the stress, the worry, just being on your edge, I guess that's what sport's about. That's what would make it fun. So in a dream scenario, yeah, sure. In a dream scenario, Super Bowl 51, Santa Clara 49ers, and obviously we win. But in reality, I second best, I guess, if you will, Dallas Cowboys. And the reason I would choose the Dallas Cowboys is because they're the other team in the NFC that have the 5 Super Bowl rings, right? And also they have the slogan of America's team. Well, we're the Raider Nation, right? So I would like to take out the America's team and show them who the real team in America is. Not only in America, but we're all over. Just ask my buddy Raider Lion. That would be awesome, man.
Eddie Vader Raider asks, who do you think will be the surprise veteran cut from the team this year before the season begins? Nye?
I actually love this question. This question really got me to think really deep. And anytime you can get me to think deep and really start to break stuff down in my mind, I love the challenge. And the reason it was such a challenge is because when you look at our roster, we've done so good at bringing in younger talent. So when I hear the word veteran, I used to think Charles Woodson, Justin Tuck. These are some of the names that would stick out in my head as far as the veterans that we had on this team. Now I'm starting to look at the roster and I'm thinking, okay, we do have Reggie Nelson, but he's not getting cut. We do have Donald Penn. He is one of another older veteran. He's not getting cut. Then you start getting into some of the other ones that are intriguing. Marcel Reese, he could be on the bubble, but I think he's just too talented of a guy to let go. I mean, he could help on special teams. He could play tight end. He could play wide receiver. He's a backup fullback. But he's on the bubble only. I see maybe putting him on the trade block still, but I don't think you necessarily cut a guy like Marcel Reese. But those are the veterans that really came to my mind. And the other one would be Michael Crabtree. We all know he's not going nowhere, right? Everybody else is primarily young. I guess the other name you could throw in there would be Nate Allen. But once again, in a secondary that struggled so much last season, especially early on, I don't see Nate Allen going anywhere either. I mean, you're going to keep a guy like Nate Allen, and even though you got a Carlos Joseph. Now, some of the other ones that are intriguing to me would be Nico Thorpe. I don't think, once again, DJ Hayden is another name that's thrown out there a lot, but we were just talking last week about DJ Hayden and the battle he's going to have with Carey. As long as we got Hayden under contract this year, Hayden's going to be someone that we utilize, whether it's on special teams or, as a depth piece, rotational piece within our secondary. He's very athletic. I know he doesn't have the greatest cover skills, at least he hasn't, but there was a great article by Sean Smith, not by Sean Smith, that featured Sean Smith, the cornerback, and he talked about reinventing yourself and how this is his third team, and there's always a chance to reinvent yourself. And last season, you saw DJ Hayden kind of feel more comfortable in the zone as the season went on. Now, as far as covering the receiver down the field and getting his head to look at the ball, that's another issue. We'll have to wait to see how that plays out. But we could utilize Hayden on special teams, like I said, or covering the slot in short yardage situations where there might be a quick slant or a quick pass. I believe DJ Hayden can cover that very well, keeping things in front of him. So I don't see Hayden going anywhere. But to get to the real heart of the question, some of the veterans that I see that might be cut would be a guy, Stacy McGee. And it's not that Stacy McGee has been an underachiever, but he's on the last year of his rookie contract. And like I said, I don't want to say he's underperformed, but he's just had some unfortunate situations like the uprising of Justin Jelly Ellis. We go and we sign Dan Williams. So he ended up being that third guy on the pole, but now we brought in guys like Mario Edwards Jr., who's going to play a lot of inside, Jihad Ward, and these guys are more flashy speed burst guys that have great power in their hands, and a combination of speed and power to push the pocket and get the quarterback to run out to our defensive ends. That's what we want. And Stacy McGee really hasn't shown that. Now, either as Justin Jelly Ellis, he's flashed at times, but once again, you're going to keep guys like Ellis and Williams to really plug up the hole in our 4-3 look, because we're going to run a lot of different coverages. So I would say Stacy McGee would be, and it's crazy to think Stacy McGee is a veteran, right? But it's 4 years in the league. He's definitely a veteran. So I would say Stacy McGee would be one that would be on my list. I always get them mixed up, but I believe McDonald, the safety, would be a casualty, because I like Keith McGill moving to safety. I believe he's going to have a great skill set there. His size, his speed, his coverage skills. He's been playing corner, but he used to play safety in college. So, I'm thinking we might see some big things from Miguel back there, especially as a depth piece. So, I see our safeties running out to be Reggie Nelson, Nate Allen, Carlos Joseph, Keith McGill. I see that being a foursome there to be reckoned with. Keith McGill is another one that'd be really good on special teams. So, yeah, I would have to say, Marcel Reese, either on the bubble to be cut or traded, just because of the fit and the way we're moving this offense. He could be the odd guy out. Stacy McGee would be one on the defensive line, because we've got so many talented players on the defensive line right now. Linebackers, man, we need to try to keep them all. I don't think there's a veteran that I could just, flat out say. Naron Ball, if you want to consider him a veteran, he's only in his second year. Injury would be the only thing that would see him leave the team. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to think when I'm sitting here brainstorming. A cornerback, Sean Smith, he ain't going nowhere. He's the veteran in that group. I guess you could put David Amerson and Hayden in there as veterans, but I believe that they have a use on this team. They're very talented, whether it's special teams or a depth piece. Amerson's going to be a starter, so I love our ends. Autry could actually even be on the bubble. You got Aldon Smith. Aldon Smith's not going to get cut. Bruce Irvin. You got Khalil Mack. You got Jaheed Ward, Shalik Calhoun. Some young guys mixing in with Dan Williams, Justin Jelly Ellis. How many of these guys we're going to keep? Autry might be a good piece that, he's good, but he's going to have to go up against some exciting speed and strong rookies. So, yeah, that's a great question, man. I really like the question, but the two names that come to my head, offense and defense, would be Marcel Reese or Stacey McGee. And just to throw one more in there, Lee Smith. But you're talking about a team that really wants to run the football. I think we run the same tight end crew we had last season. I think we go Rivera, and we go Walford, and we go Lee Smith. So all three of those guys. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun training camp. It's going to be full of excitement, full of competition. We got so much depth. This is the kind of off-season we've been waiting for, something where we got depth all over the field. There's going to be some great competitions. It should make out for a fun preseason. And, let's just see how it all plays out. But, yeah, Stacey McGee and maybe Marcel Reese. I think maybe those would be the two that I would target right now. And I might upset some people with the Marcel Reese pick, but, Olawale is more of a size. He's more of a big, wider version of Marcel Reese. But I'd like to keep Reese, but, and maybe as a halfback. So we'll see how that all plays out. Anyways, great question.
Okay, well, that wraps up our Q&A segment. We're going to take a break, but before we do, our thoughts and prayers go out to Raider Ron, the General, a super fan. We lost a great fan this week, so we thought that this tribute would be fitting. Raider Ron, you will always be a Soul Raider.
Yes! Raider Nation! Raider Mystic right about now. Picking up Charlie Perkins. Every time, Yeah.
I'm a Raider. Raider. Soul Raider. Raider. Soul Raider. I'm a champion. Ooh. Committed to excellence.
Yeah. Them know how we livin', it's silver and black. Them know how we giving them a heart attack. All black, Ben Davis and the starter cap. And young Gal Davis is the quarterback. So Raider once there, seen them all eat cheese. And probably be saying why they filing me. Why them cats got bats and dress like that? Why them girls flip back and grab they sack? It's a Raider thing, you best to keep bellin'. I heard a donkey fan, what the hell are they yelling? Raider Nation. Never hesitate, fake nations fake cause they can't duplicate. When they try to imitate, they make mistakes. Cause the best super fan takes the cake. I'll do it to my last breath, nothing but love. Now when you look at how I'm dressed, now you know it's because I'm a Raider.
Soul Raider. Soul Raider. I'm a champion. Committed to excellence.
Yeah, they all know what's up when the Raiders in here. We make it flood, make them take to the top of the hill. With the love that's so great that you hating with fear. Don't discuss cause you won't find Buccaneers in here. It's the way that we do it, Raider Nation on the grind. One small step cause we help mankind. And like Gorilla, our lives will shine. And like Violator, compete so right. When we do it, nothing but fluid. If you ain't true to this, then don't come around it. Stay away from it, man, they just gangsters. And on that simple note, I would love to thank y'all. At any game, ain't nobody messing with me. Too many pains, I will always have my Raider family. They always hate cause we something they'll never be. They'll never be Raider.
I'm a Raider. Soul Raider. Soul Raider. I'm a champion. Committed to excellence.
I say me name a Raider Mystic and I come to bring some fire. Break The Raider Nation's just a little bit more higher. The silver and the black, strong and valiant like a lion. Marcus Allen of the rhymes, the Bo Jackson of my timing. Hut, hut, hike, biggity boom, biggity bye. TP2 just running by with a fire in his eye. Last pick of Al Davis, a legend in our time. Last pick of Mr. Davis, a legend in my mind. Just win, baby, once a Raider, always a Raider. You don't adjust, you dominate. A couple mantras from the Raider creator. Nothing could be greater than in the black hole jetting Raider. Like Darth Vader, we invaders from space, been sent to planet Earth for pirates love to dominate, shattering walls of oppression and hate. And we don't lie, we don't die, we just multiply.
Raider, so Raider, so Raider. I'm a champion.
The autumn wind is a Raider.
Committed to excellence.
Committed to excellence every day, in every way.
I'm a Raider.
Raider in the morning time.
So Raider.
And in the evening too.
I'm a champion.
Champion son.
Committed to excellence.
Number one.
Welcome back, folks. Now we're going to go into our State of the Raiders, where the Knight and I will discuss things that we believe can affect the team both on the field and off the field. So one of the things, again, there's a lot of debate going around about the top 100. There's always a little bit of debate of whether or not a player's worthy to go to the Pro Bowl, or where exactly players rank in position to one another. Who is the better player? So today, again, we're going to look at statistics, and we're going to just talk a little bit about whether or not statistics alone are a good indicator of whether or not a player truly is an all-pro or truly is one of the better players at his position. So I guess the first thing tonight that I would ask is, do you think that we can just look at statistics when we are looking at a player, and does that give us a true representation of who that player is? Do certain systems produce better types of players? Are certain players adaptable to any system and therefore, are better equipped or better all-around players? People like Richard Sherman, for example, in Seattle, where he just plays the right side, or Nnamdi Asomugha, who used to play our right side, as opposed to a Patrick Peterson or shutdown corners of that nature that will follow people all over the field, and they take away one side of the defense. So again, I guess the first thing that I would want to ask is, are statistics reliable? Can we just look at a statistic and find out what type of player that we really have?
Well, opinions are going to vary in this conversation, because everybody has a way of how they determine how a certain player is, how a certain player does. Some people solely look at statistics like Pro Football Focus. Some people like to look at individual stats just from the NFL and how they did for the year as a whole. And then they look at team stats. And then obviously you have the film study. For a guy like me, man, I really base it all off film study. I'm a film study guy. That's my primary go-to, because the film will tell you a lot more than any stat will, because you play different teams week to week. You might be playing the number 1 defense one week, and then the next week you might be playing the number 15 defense. So people are going to perform different in different situations. If you were to follow Khalil Mack, and you were to sit there and study Khalil Mack last year, in the first half of the season when Aldon Smith was on the other side and Ken Norton and Del Rio were struggling trying to figure out the right system, the right scheme to run these two power defensive ends at the quarterback, his numbers weren't spiking so much. We had Big Dan Williams in the middle, Justin Ellis in the middle. All of a sudden, we lose Aldon Smith, and they had to adjust. They had to adjust some things. And what do? They slide a guy like Mario Edwards Jr., a rookie, but had enough speed and power to push the pocket in the middle. Then all of a sudden, you saw Khalil Mack's numbers spike. So for me, if you're looking at statistic-wise, I mean, it just goes to show you that the team concept weighs more than the individual stats. if Khalil Mack's numbers are consistently high, and then you see the team go consistently high, then you know that Khalil Mack's making the proper adjustments and changing the person next to him and how they play, or someone else is helping him. But if you just look at Khalil Mack's numbers, I mean, you could look at it and say, okay, the second best pass rusher in the league last year, next to J.J. Watt, but yet our defense was only ranked like 22. So at the same time, I mean, you have to understand that statistics can veer you one way or the other, and it's not always the right way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you think about it, we thought that Khalil Mack was going to get these incredible numbers with Aldon Smith on the other side of him, sort of producing your traditional pincer type of defense where the ends kind of come around and meet at the quarterback. And it was actually when Mario Edwards Jr. started pushing the pocket and forcing the quarterbacks closer to Khalil Mack where he actually did get some higher numbers. So again, a player can be influenced by other players just along their own in their own position groups. But what about the secondary and the defensive line? You know, the pass rush and the secondary. So again, if you look at, you know, a quarterback having lots and lots of time because of no pass rush, you know, he's going to complete some balls, and you could be the best cornerback in the world and you're going to get, you know, you can't keep a guy covered for 4 or 5 seconds, right? And vice versa. So what about that type of dynamic as well? I mean, even if you are particularly good at one position, there are other positions on the football team that do not affect you, or I'm sorry, that do directly affect you, that you may not have very much control over. So again, in order to sort of help your secondary or to help a player who's struggling in the secondary, you know, you may have to bring in some pass rush.
Absolutely. That statement pretty much backs up my point I'm making. You can look at statistics all you want, but it's not going to tell the whole story. You have to watch film and have to understand the scheme that you're running and where the weakness is really at. We all know that our secondary struggled last year, but if you look at what we did in just this offseason, Jack Del Rio and Reggie McKenzie decided to build up the pass rush to help out the secondary versus fixing the secondary as a whole. We only went out and got Sean Smith as far as cornerbacks go. The rest of the cornerbacks are returning. Amerson, you got Hayden, you got Carey and Thorpe. These guys are all coming back. So the only addition in the quarterback slot is Sean Smith. But if you look up front, we went and got 3 more pass rushers to add to the plethora of pass rushers we already had. So they understand that it was a combination of both. But if you look at just that statistics alone, you would say, well, Amerson's, you know, was our high note, and TJ Carey and DJ Hayden was our low note. When you look at the top 100 list that NFL Network puts out every offseason, it's supposed to be by the players voting for other players. But in all the research that I did this week, when I read an article by Mike Florio that talked about how the process works. For everybody who doesn't know, Mike Florio is one of the leaders of Pro Football Talk. So he wrote an article talking about how the system works, and here's how it broke down. Basically, when they send out the ballots for the Pro Bowl, when the Pro Bowl is actually based off players, media, and fans, that's different. But they also send out another piece of paper with nothing on it, and they ask players to fill out their top 20, not necessarily by position. Like if it's a cornerback, they don't ask them what is your top 20 cornerbacks in the league. They just your top 20 in general. And it's not mandatory. So they're given this piece of paper, they're writing it down. And get this statistic. In the first year that this was done, only 481 players participated. That was only 28.2% of the players in the league that actually filled this thing out. So when they got all the statistics in, it was pointless. I mean, there was nothing there. So then the article goes on to say that's when the NFL Network crew, so it could be the analysts on the screen or behind the scenes people, they kind of went in and finished up the rest of it. So, you know, they're going to statistics. The players that voted, which was only 28.2% of the league, goes in and they're just going off the top of their head. And how much you want to bet that 28.2% of these players possibly non-starters, right? A lot of these guys that are primary players on their team, they're not necessarily going to get into who they like the best or what have you. I mean, maybe some. So it's all watered down. Right there, it tells you it's watered down. These guys ain't watching film. They don't look at statistics. Oh, yeah, they're going to talk about probably players in their division. So you're going to be division heavy on one end of it, or popularity, right? If they're going to mention quarterbacks, what quarterbacks do they play? Who do they think is the best in the league? Things like that. So the top 100, after I studied it this week, is one of those shows that just fills the gap between regular season and going into the off season. It's just a gap filler. It's pointless. So anybody that wants to put any stock into the top 100, I advise you not to, because it really just is a TV show that puts out, hey, this player, that player, and I wouldn't put a lot of stock into it. It's the statistics are only half of what the story is when it comes to the top 100.
Well, one of the things that I've sort of been disappointed by is what they've done with the Pro Bowl. I just don't understand what they're doing. I mean, they've got so many different alternates and, people that probably shouldn't make it are making it. Now it has non-conference. When I used to watch the Pro Bowl when I was a kid, it really meant something. It was the best players. Maybe there wasn't as much contact. Maybe it wasn't the same type of football game, but you were seeing the best players at their positions come out, and you were seeing some really cool one-on-one matchups. Nowadays, it's not like that. I mean, it really has become something of a mockery, in my opinion. Do you take any solace in the fact that our players are in the Pro Bowl? I mean, obviously it's sort of a good thing, but does even that mean anything anymore?
The Pro Bowl has basically become a freak show to me. They don't run it after the season like they used to. So a lot of the times you would take the Super Bowl players and they would be injured or they wouldn't be interested, but now they're running it a week before. So automatically you're not getting the Super Bowl players, which, let's face it, some of the best players of the year are going to be playing in that game. So you automatically lose them. And then they mix conferences and they have these draft shows, and it's become a popularity contest. Yes, it's fair to say that statistics are involved into Pro Bowl voting, but then you bring the fans and the media in it once again. Now you're talking about kind of like what you mentioned earlier. You're going to have small market versus big market value, who gets talked about, who's getting publicized more nationally than the other guy. And it's a popularity contest. I mean, how many times have we seen even our own get elected into the Pro Bowl when their numbers really not really back up? They were just popular. They were known as one of the most versatile fullbacks in the league. So Marcel Reese gets back-to-back Pro Bowls. But let's be honest, did he really earn it statistically? Or was he just kind of a fan favorite because of his versatility on all the things that he could do? So at the end of the day, for me, when it comes to the Pro Bowl, it's a combination of more watered down nonsense. You got media, you got statistics, you got fans. And as fans, I will tell you right now, most fans, I would say at least 85% of fans are going to carry a heavy bias. And I might be favorable in giving out an 85% on that. It might be a lot higher than that, because there's only a few fans that I know that could sit here and honestly talk to you unbiasedly about what they see going on in the league or on their football team. It's either the Raiders or nothing. So it's kind of like the whole, once again, the Derek Carr, Blake Bortles things. Raider fans immediately are going to be biased because we look into numbers. But some of the numbers could back up what they say, but not certain parts of the stats. And what's more important to you may not be important to the guy that's putting together a show, on top of the fact that most shows, Pro Bowl included, are going to create drama. They have to have some kind of entertainment value to it. So if they can put a guy in there that maybe might be a question mark and get the buzz and get people talking of why someone's in the Pro Bowl, you might have a higher rating for someone to watch the Pro Bowl versus them not.
Yeah, I mean, I think statistics are important, but I think that they're just one small piece of the overall picture. So if we can't just use statistics, and we can't just use, let's say, reputation or predictions. Exactly. I mean, what can we do? Is there any way that we could accurately sort of represent players across the board? I mean, it seems like an extremely difficult thing to do, but is there any way that you can think of that would be a better system than the one that we currently use, which to me seems a little ridiculous?
It comes down to define how this process should work, whether it be Pro Bowl, top 100, or who's the most elite person at their position. So who's the number one quarterback, or who's the number two wide receiver, either on a team or in the league itself. It's going to take a design system that combines a combination of everything. But you have to eliminate the bias. If you want the fans to be involved, you have to have that portion. You have to maybe develop a point system. So a fan's perspective might have lower points, but it'll be taken into consideration. And then you have to go and get some of the media's best and some of the players' best. Maybe it's former players that are on some of these shows on NFL Network or ESPN that could come in and do a combination of fan bias, because you know the fans are going to be biased, number one. And then you're going to have statistics that's going to show what each individual player has done, and you could add that into the mix. But then you're going to have guys that really know how to study film, like ex-coaches or guys that are draft gurus that can know and understand play concepts and schemes, and they could see. But see, then now you're getting into an era where is it really worth all that to put up these shows? These shows are just for pure entertainment value. I don't think the league cares as much as maybe the fans do, and I think that's part of the problem. They know that they could put something together, and if it causes controversy, that's just going to bump up their numbers. There's no such thing as bad publicity in business. So I mean, it usually plays off each other. It's like the yin-yang effect. So, I mean, what is the perfect system? It exists, but it's so complex, I don't think we'll ever see it.
Connor Cook is undeniably one of the most polarizing prospects from the 2016 NFL draft class, and the Oakland Raiders selects him in the 4th round. However, many people were surprised by the fact that he was actually available in the 4th round, considering that many rated him, especially me, myself, as a top 5 quarterback. I even had him in contention to be potentially the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, competing with Paxton Lynch. Therefore, it was exceptionally surprising for me, but also exceptionally fantastic for me to see him there, sat there in the 4th round, for the Oakland Raiders to draft him. I couldn't actually be happier with this selection. And even though many people would doubt the actual selection and question why we actually need a quarterback, there are specific things as to why Reggie McKenzie did, and reasons as to why he selected him, and why we even traded up to get him. Connor Cook had an absolutely fantastic career at Michigan State and holds several of the school records. He was noted as potentially coming out in the 2015 draft class as even a potential 1st round pick there, but the main reason he dropped was due to leadership issues. Mark Dulgarian from NFL.com specifically highlights this area of concern as to why he drops to the 4th round in the 2016 NFL draft. However, having said that, it is clear that this was a 4-year starter who showed incredible consistency, at times incredible accuracy, and who was able to win and lead his team when it mattered. So much so that you were able to see the performance in the noticeable victories that he had over his career. Thus, so it's exactly what you want on a team. For a team, and for a team to draft players, you need to draft winners. Winners are a top priority. If you have a team full of winners, the team knows how to win. The team gets in the right mentality. It knows how to train, it knows how to prepare, and it knows how to get ready for a situation where they can perform. It knows the feeling to win. And losing, when you know what winning is like, is the worst feeling in the world. Not only that, but Connor Cook's intangibles have been absolutely fantastic. He's proved over the years that he has excellent footwork, and he can work around in the pocket. He can play under centre, he can take his 7-step drops or whatever you need him to do, and he can play in a pro-style offense. Not only that, but he's had success, and considerable success, as already mentioned, in the pro-style offense. One of the most notable areas of his game, which really makes me chuffed and makes me actually look forward to potentially seeing him during the preseason playing as the backup role for Derek Carr, is the fact that he can read a defense exceptionally well. At a college level, consistently, he proved he can read the safeties and what they're going to be doing, whether it's a 1 high or 2 high safety, and he can also make reads on the receiver. meaning that he's willing to take shots down the field on a highly consistent basis, higher than some of the other quarterbacks in this draft class, most notably Dak Prescott. And at times he's able to really connect with his receivers, most notably in the past year, Aaron Burbridge, who he had many successful completions with over the 20-yard range. And it's fantastic to see for a young quarterback to have that idea of a gunslinger mentality. That, but his intangibles are exactly there in terms of accuracy, strength of arm. As I've already mentioned, he's been called a gunslinger, but his quick release is something that's actually something fantastic. All of these intangibles that I've described and have basically put to you are things that people look for in an NFL starter. And even though I truly believe that he will not be able to truly compete with Derek Carr for the starter role, I believe the main reason we drafted him is for a make weight in the future, a trade tool or a trade gem that we can use and ship off to a team. This is similar to what Reggie McKenzie witnessed when he was at Green Bay, and is what similarly I think Green Bay are doing right now with Brett Hundley. Honestly, right now I love the pick. Not even the fact that we've got a very good quality backup who can develop potentially into a very, very good player, but the fact that we've now got a potential player who can add value to later situations and also increase the trade value and help out the team to trade up in certain situations and increase their likelihood of getting the player they want in future drafts. Overall, this is a guy who can develop and needs time to develop. And the main area of concern with him was his leadership. Yet at Oakland Raiders, he's not going to be asked to be a leader because Derek Carr and other players on offense are above him. Therefore, he can focus on what he needs to focus on and work on the actual true intangibles without having to worry, I need to come into this team, I need to compete and win the starting job and show people I am worthy. Here he can relax, can prove his talents and can develop consistently over time. Hopefully it's going to be very nice to see because I'm very excited by it. And even though some people may actually view him, and I know there is a small fan group out there that view him as the potential starter and replacement for Derek Carr, ultimately, we don't honestly know. And predicting that far ahead is ultimately impossible, considering as well that Derek Carr is a member of the NFL Top 100, as voted by players, and also Pro Bowl. It'll be interesting to see how Connor Cook develops. But ultimately, he's come back to a great organisation and he's got every chance to be a very good player in the future. And you never know, he may even take over from Derek Carr. Who am I to question it if he does?
Well, folks, that's our show for tonight. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it for you. We like to end our show with an invitation to become a part of our community by joining us for the after show at 6:30 live. Please also remember to subscribe to this channel and to like us on Facebook, as it means that you like our content. And it will also help to keep you up to date with our latest video releases when they're uploaded. Until next time, live a life of passion and purpose on your terms. One nation, First Nation, Raider Nation.